Coming up on the pod today, I recap my shows in Washington, D.C. / well, technically Arlington, Virginia. We'll get into that in a second. Either way, lot to talk about on these shows. Excited to let you guys know how they went. I do want to mention that all my new tour dates are out and they are live. Even the Minneapolis show, which was not on sale when I announced, now it is. I'm going to run through those dates very quickly for you guys, just so you know the full announcement in case you missed it. Chicago, the first three are not new dates. Chicago's the first one. That's in 2 weeks, August 27th through the 29th. The Thursday show has only about 20 tickets left. So if you've been waiting to buy tickets to come to that show, buy those tickets. And then San Diego, September 6th through the 7th. And then Sunnyvale, California, September 12th through the 15th. That's basically in San Jose. And then after that, I'm going to run through the new shows. September 26th, New York City. That's a big one. Tickets are flying for that one. It looks like it'll probably sell out, so buy your tickets, right? And then the next night, Stamford, Connecticut, September 27th, a Friday night. Heard awesome things about this club. I'm really excited to go. Now I'm just going to run through, without the dates, just the cities. Atlanta, Richmond, Virginia, Virginia Beach, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, Cleveland, Philly, Denver, yes, Phoenix, Nashville, and Minneapolis. More to be added. I will let you guys know kind of as things start to trickle in. Hopefully we'll add a few more dates in there before the end of the year. I have a call with my agent in about an hour, and so maybe we'll get some answers, dude. Maybe I'll have some fun updates next pod, But either way, those are the shows. This is the podcast, and it starts right now. Happy to be back with you guys for a fresh, hot, new Willie B experience. I'm feeling good. I got my Dolphin shirt on. It was a shirt that I saw in Urban that I was like, it was one of those. You ever have these things where you find a fashion item and you're like, oh, wouldn't it be funny if I bought this? And then you buy it and you're like, oh yeah, this is I actually really like this shirt. It's awesome. My plant next to me for the watchers, not the listeners. It's going through a weird phase right now, man. It's got some dead leaves, and it's not doing super hot, which is so weird. And I think I watered it too much, which is such BS, dude. It's like I'm trying to water my plants, and then you water them too much. It's like, bro, if I water you, too much water should be a good thing. You should be hydrated, right? I drink water all the time, dude. I can't drink too much water. I don't like that. If it's too much water, they start to break down. I don't like that. Okay, get it together, plant. Okay, dude. Do you guys remember the show MythBusters? Dude, that was a big show for me growing up, and they did a MythBuster about how like plants can feel things, like feel emotions, and that was an actual thing that was proven that like if you talk nice to a plant, it like helps them. It's really weird. Like music can affect plants. Yeah, it's plausible that music can actually help plants grow. That's so interesting. They also determined that classical music and heavy metal music made the plants grow better than the control plants that received neither talk nor music. That's crazy. Heavy metal, that does not seem like a growth musical choice. Heavy metal, I'd want to recede back into my roots. Dude, I'm a little tired today because I got woken out of REM sleep. That's always fun. You're just deep in a dream. I'm in Inception. I'm on the 3rd level with the van falling off the river, and that's when I get woken up. That's the worst, dude. Because I'll do the Oso update early in the pod. But Oso always barks us awake. We close the door to the bedroom, and he sleeps out in the family room. Family room? Living room? There's no family. He's the family. It's his room. It works. It's the dog room. And when he decides it's up time to get up, he starts woofing. Loud woofs, and then we let him in the room, and he comes up to the bed, and he's like, roar, 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 and he starts woofing at us basically until one of us gets up to feed him. Mainly, he just don't likes when we're in bed. He's like a little kid. He's like, get up, I want to play, and woofs at you until you get up. So anyways, that initial woof woke me the fuck up this morning. Oh, that was intense. He also does this thing that every night at about 10:30 p.m. he starts barking for like a minute straight and then stops and goes to sleep. We call it his night barks, and you can't stop it. If you're like, hey, or go up and pet him, he's like, when the petting is over, he goes, ruff, and he's got to just get him out. I'm like, you just got to get your night barks out. Get him out, right? So that's how I'm feeling. Back from the road, was in Virginia. I was technically in Arlington, Virginia, and I did another weekend, dude. Weekend Will checking in, which, again, if you're new to the show, new to comedy, doing a weekend of shows is kind of the peak of a comedy club headliner, because you want the weekend shows, man. You want the 4 shows. You make more money. You have more people can come see you. Easier to buy tickets because you can commit to a Friday, Saturday. And so it was honored, man. I was honored to be a weekend guy. And I marketed the shows as Washington, D.C., because these were my D.C. shows. However, the shows were technically in Arlington, Virginia. And boy, did people make a stink about it. Dude, the amount of DMs I got where people were like, oh, man, you got to come to actual D.C. Oh, man, this isn't D.C. Oh, what, I need my passport to go all the way over there? It was 12 minutes from Washington, D.C. 12 minutes across a river. And people, I sold plenty of tickets, but people were acting like they had to swim across the river to come to the shows. That's how they were acting. People chose not to come to the show because they had to drive 12 minutes over a body of water, right? People were acting like they had to rent a boat and be like George Washington, like, yes, off to see the clown boy. Yes, we shall reach land in 15 minutes. It was easy. I even made the drive to and from the airport. It was like, bro, this is what people are complaining about? And I was making fun of the DC people during the shows. And because I told them people made a real stink about it. And apparently people from DC just don't want to leave DC, even to see your boy. It was a problem for them. I was starting to get kind of annoyed with the messages I was getting, but I decided to ignore them. And people made the drive. I said, thank you for your service. They were the real heroes, driving 12 minutes. It was so funny, dude. It was so funny because I asked people in the audience. I was like, man, I was kind of saying the same thing I'm saying now. And I was like, how long did it take you? And they were like, 12 minutes. I'm like, what's the fucking problem? But again, I didn't want to market the shows as Arlington, Virginia, because people would think that, oh, I'm not going to go to these shows because I'll wait for him to come to DC, right? So it was the thing I did with Tampa, where I said Tampa, but it was actually this place called Wesley Chapel, 30 minutes away. These two clubs actually have a lot of similarities. I'll get into that in a second. But sometimes you just have to market to a big city because that's the time those are my big city shows. Like, for example, the Wesley Chapel thing. That was my Tampa shows. I'm not going to another Tampa show. Same thing with this. I'm not doing more DC shows, so this is the DC show. So, and oftentimes the club will just be out on the outskirts of town. The Milwaukee Improv, 30 minutes west in Brookfield. Right? That's just how it goes sometimes. You just got to market it as the big city so people come. And it was an interesting debate trying to figure out where to do my shows, man, because last year, DC was the second tour stop on the Just Us part of the tour. And I did a place called Room 808, which was a buddy of mine, Martin Domini, a comedian who's gotten very popular now. It was his room. He runs the room. It's a 50-seat, basically closet in DC. I got a lot of clips from there. I had a hell of a time. That shit banged. That room was awesome. Again, you put 50 people in a tiny little room, it's gonna bang. But there's no stage, there's no real green room. It was, it was the Just Us tour. That's how it went. So I wasn't gonna go back there because I sold a lot of tickets. And really, the question was, do we do the DC Improv or do we do Arlington Draft House? And DC Improv is basically known as essentially like the best comedy club in the country. Next to Denver Comedy Works, which I'll be there December 4th, DC Improv is known as like the club, and I've never performed there. That's one of the last kind of bucket list clubs I've yet to perform at. I can't think of any other ones. That's like the last one I need to do. And they were a little like on the fence about giving me like a one-nighter. Like my agent had to kind of like track them down to give me an offer for just a one-night show, which is typically not really an issue, especially in that big of a market. But it was like kind of like we'll do one show. And then she goes to the Arlington Draft House, which I already knew about. I knew it was a place. And they were like, oh, we'll give him a weekend right now. And I'm like, how would I turn that down? Why, someone who's so welcoming and so excited about me and gives me a better opportunity, I'm like, yeah, sign me up. So it was an easy decision to make. I think I would have probably rather done the DC Improv for the vibes, but I was like, the deal's better, the show's better. It's like, I'm going to Arlington. Easy decision, right? And I wasn't. It's called the Arlington Draft House, which I'm familiar with it because that's kind of like a chain of movie theaters, and it was a movie theater. The room was a movie theater, and a big movie theater. Before I get into that, I'll say the surrounding area I think was my favorite environment that I've stayed in on the road because it had everything I needed. I'm big on just efficiency and things that I need. Excuse me. We stayed in the Westin Hotel, which is always a reliable bet. Across the street from the Westin was an upscale diner that was open till 3 a.m. It was like the universe was like, hey, here's the perfect food option for a comedian. Here you go. Dude, we ate every single meal at this diner. You know what it felt like? It felt like I had a tour manager. Here's why. Is because when you're on the road, it's hard sometimes I have to make all the decisions. I have to handle all the logistics. I don't have an assistant. I don't have a tour manager. I have to decide where we're eating, when we're eating, the travel, the pick up the rental car, everything. There's so many things I have to figure out. And food is an annoying part of it because I have to basically decide where to eat. I need to find a place that doesn't look too shitty, not too expensive. It's like another thing that I have to use my brain for. And it's mentally exhausting. But this time was like, oh, I go there. It was like someone was holding my hand going, here you go, here's where you eat. And I just go, okay, I eat here now. It was fantastic. I don't know. I've never experienced something so convenient, ever. Let's go back to the club. So I walked in, and sure enough, it legitimately is a movie theater. And it's a big one. Like, the ceilings are massive. The stage is actually a really cool stage. It felt like almost a theater. And it was like the curtain behind the stage was so big that it made me look like I was 5'2". Like, I looked tiny on that big of a stage. And, I knew pretty much off the bat. I was like, okay, well, this is going to be, not as good as it could be just because the ceilings are so high. And it's funny with these venues. Like, I've seen it all at this point. I've done every type of venue you could put me in. Like, I've done the movie theater. I was the Wesley Chapel show. Funny enough, that was in a movie theater. And so I already kind of was prepared for what I was going to say, how I was going to make fun of the theater. This is what I would say.
It's good to see you guys, man. I appreciate you coming out and packing this place out. It means a lot to me, man. It's great. I've been looking forward to these shows for a long time. Didn't know it was going to be in goddamn AMC, but that's fine. I didn't know I was opening for Deadpool tonight. I didn't fucking know that.
And so again, I was just used to it. And when it's in this environment, you feel a little bit disconnected from the people just because they're far back. The ceilings are high. The people were even the chairs they had were hilarious. They were in desk chairs. People were literally like in rolling desk chairs, like we're having a team meeting or something. Like a company-wide meeting. That's what it felt like. There were so many funny observations that I would start the show out with that I actually liked having all these silly things about the club because, it's always kind of hard when you start your set. You don't want to just go into jokes. You want to say some observations about the city or the club. And I instantly had like 5 minutes of shit to riff on about the club. It was really fun. And everyone from the staff was fantastic. I'm poking fun at the venue, which they're used to. The main real downside was there was no bathroom, and to get to the bathroom in the back of the room, I had to walk out behind the theater, in the green room. I had to have a secret door that I walk outside, walk all the way around to the front of the club to then go back in the club and go to the bathroom. The other alternative would basically be walk through the entire crowd, and I'm just not going to do that. So that was kind of annoying, but it really got crazy with the last show, which I'll get to. Something I noticed about the DC crowds, I think every show was fun. Every show. But the early late show was a real difference. Now, as I've been coming up, I've always known that the early shows are better. Like Saturday early is going to be the most packed show, probably going to be the best show. Friday late is always going to be the toughest show because people have been tired from working all week. They started drinking at 5 p.m. Hardest to sell tickets that show. And that's what I've known. And the more I've done this, and I don't know if comedy's changing, if audiences are changing, but dude, the early shows were they were kind of fun. And the late shows were really fun. And I sold more tickets on both late shows. I don't know why. But it really made a difference. I don't know what it was. Like, the early shows were a little tight. They did not like dirty jokes, really, which I thought was interesting. I didn't expect that, but like, and I don't get that dirty, but any sort of, even like a dick joke or anything silly, like, they kind of didn't really like it that much. And I was surprised. That was something that really stood out about this area. They wanted clean, I think. They wanted silly, they wanted clean. Yeah, the dirty stuff was weird. But the first night was great. It was like such a successful first night, with especially the late show being like pretty fire. I was excited. I was feeling really good. I'm still doing the thing where I'm not smoking weed the day before a show. Like I talked about when I was in Texas. This is a new thing that I'm doing, and I'm sticking with it, and I feel the difference. I really feel the difference, and I just feel sharper. I feel like I have a better vocabulary. I feel like I'm funnier. Like, even for this, I'm trying not to do it before I do the podcast. Like, I didn't smoke last night, so I can have a better podcast. It's unfortunate because it's really hard to come down from the show and just go to sleep sober. Like, I don't really like to drink. You know, I'll usually have like a beer after the late show. I'll have like a Bud Light or a Miller Lite, just to like, almost like a recovery beer to kind of like give me some carbs, give me some, just take the edge off for a second. That's kind of what I do. But man, go back to the hotel and like trying to fall asleep after doing 2 shows and 2 meet and greets and setting up cameras and all this stuff. It's tough to just like go to sleep, man. You have a lot of adrenaline. And so the lack of weed is tough, man. It was hard to fall asleep that first night. And especially with, dude, I don't know what's going on with hotel pillows, but I'm having bad luck with hotel pillows lately. They're bad. And I'm staying at a Westin, nice hotel. They're the pillows that are like, you just sink into. Like, it just envelops your head. Dude, there's no support or anything. It's like you're sleeping in lotion. I gotta have 2 of them, and that kind of works, but then my head's kind of propped up. Man, they gotta figure it out with the pillows. Also, hotel rooms get so dark that it's almost like inconvenient. Like, dude, I'll wake up in a hotel on the road and be like, oh, man, I slept great. It's probably it's probably 10 a.m. Let's go get a coffee. I check my phone, 3 p.m. Oh, dude, it's that dark? It's afternoon dark? Which I want, but sometimes it's like, dude, and I'm already on the East Coast. So if I'm on the East Coast, I'm not waking up before noon. I'm just not. So yeah, some people do DC and they're like, hey, I'll go see the monument, go see the Lincoln sitting guy. When would I go do that? I don't know who adjusts to the time that easily. Who lands and is like, all right, I'm going to go to bed at midnight, which is 9 p.m., and wake up at 9 a.m. and have a day. I'm like, bro, what the I'm getting some sleep, man. I'm sleeping until 3 p.m. with the 2 dark hotel room and the lotion pillows. Say I won't. Man, Saturday we woke up and watched the basketball game, the gold medal basketball game, USA, with Steph Curry hitting one of the most amazing shots I've ever seen. You guys know how big of a basketball fan I am, and I was loving Olympic basketball. It's so fun seeing all the best players playing together on one team. It's fantastic with actual stakes, because the All-Star game is the thing, but there's no stakes. Players don't really care. They don't play hard. I still like watching it. I'm a sucker for All-Star weekend. But the Olympics was like fun, man, because they really wanted to win. This is probably LeBron and KD's last chance to get a gold medal, and Steph Curry's first Olympics somehow, and maybe his last. And, dude, it was so fun to watch that game. And that shot that Steph hit was just an unbelievable shot. I'll put it up here somehow so you guys can see what I'm talking about in case you missed it. That was so fun. I tell you what, man, I want the Olympics on all the time. There is no better background show than the Olympics. It's always a little bit entertaining, no matter what the sport is. You can watch it on mute. You can follow kind of what's going on. Anything, dude. Water polo? Yeah, okay. That's entertaining. Fencing? Sure. I want some sort of competition on at all times. Like the last night, me and Anthony were in the diner, and they're doing diving. And we're getting into it. Like 2 just normal guys eating some burgers. We're just like, the Olympics are on still. And then we're locked in, dude. We're like, oh, man. That one was a bit of a big splash. He's probably going to get like an 88. He kicked his legs out. It's going to be probably like a 60. Oh, look at that one. Dude, there was one guy that hit like a 99 on a dive, and we both were like, oh. That's the reaction it's getting out of me. Diving! I want the Olympics 24/7. All the time. I want a 24/7 feed of the Olympics. I'm in. Saturday comes along. Ticket sales are great. Dude, it was funny, man. I like to get ticket counts, kind of like where tickets are at, leading up to a show at least every week, if not every like 3 or 4 days, just to gauge where we're at, because I said this a while ago. I don't want any sort of surprise at the show. I don't want a good surprise or a bad surprise, because I don't want to have, it's too many emotions. Like a high surprise, it's like, oh my God, ticket sales are what? Oh my God. And I'm too like excited, and I'm just in I don't know. I want to just be like a neutral. And a bad surprise is even worse, because I'm like, ticket sales are what? And then I'm in a bad vibe. So I want to know what I'm walking into. And this one I kind of didn't. The ticket sales were at like, dude, like a week and a half out, 2 weeks out, it was like 40 tickets, 60 tickets, 50 tickets, 50 tickets. And I'm like, okay. So I told myself, I was like, well, I hope I can at least get 100 a show, and which would equal 400 tickets. And I'm like, that's fine. That's the minimum I would be happy with, which is amazing, but it's all relative. Ended up selling almost 600 tickets. So, certain shows had 150. I think the first show was the lightest, that had like 107, and then the rest of them had like 140 to 170. And I was really happy with that, man. That's a lot of tickets. And I know if this was in proper DC, I would have sold 600, and I feel really good about that. It's cool, man. The more I've done this, I've spent a lot of time since I started touring worrying about ticket sales and having a very normal feeling of, oh, this is all going to go away. I think a lot of people feel that with success. But the more I've done this, the more kind of consistently successful these shows have been, and added on to consistently getting more opportunities and that not changing, I feel really comfortable. I probably feel the most comfortable I've felt, just because it's like everything's working. The industry's happy. I'm happy. I could just do this forever. And that's such a nice feeling. I don't feel like things are just going to get taken away, especially because I'm seeing growth even on social media. I went up like 2,000 followers on Instagram when I was in Virginia, and then another 1,000 when I went back. So it's like I can see the growth happening, and ticket sales are good, and I'm just feeling really good, man. And the shows on Saturday were basically the same story. Saturday early was like pretty good, similar early show vibe, and then the late show was the best show. It was so much fun. Like, I was locked in for crowd work. I had 2 interactions that were fantastic. One guy I talked to had 4 pet parrots, and I'm like, mwah, thank you for the gift, right? It was like in the clip I had in Dallas where the guy said he manufactured sex toys. I'm like, mwah, beautiful. That's a meal right there. Thank you for that. So I just felt great, and there were a couple of shows that people really applauded for me after the fact, and I really tried to soak it in. It feels so good, man. I felt a ton of gratitude this weekend. A lot, man, because things are going well, and I feel good, and a lot of good vibes. The only bad vibe was, dude, I explained the bathroom situation at the beginning, where you got to basically go out like a trap door to then walk all the way around outside back to the front of the club to take a pee-pee. And I pop out, and this is basically what I would do is I would wait until Anthony goes on stage to start the show, and then he's up for 20, 25 minutes, and then by that time, I go use the bathroom now that everyone's sat, right? And then I go in the back of the room, start my camera, watch the show, how's it going, how's the crowd. He goes on stage, I open the trap door, I walk outside, and it's pouring rain. Like that, like, East Coast rain. That like rain that like hurts. You're like, ow, 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 ow. And I'm like, there's no other option than getting caught in the rain. And there was no pina colada. I just got caught in the rain. And dude, I came back from the bathroom. I'm like soaked. I had to and I have 5 minutes before I go on stage. So I'm like wiping myself off with napkins. I'm like wiping my arms, my hair, my clothes. Thank God I'm wearing a black shirt. If I was wearing like a gray shirt, it would look hilarious. It would look like I was specifically sweating in these tiny little dots. I would look like a nuts. So that was an experience I've never had, where right before I walk on stage, I'm just drenched and just got to deal with it. I walked down stage, it looked like I'd fell in a river. before I walked on stage. No one said anything because they were so far away because we're in a movie theater. But dude, it was I felt so weird. Just you know, you sweat sometimes during the show, so wetness is I'm used to wetness. Pause. But this was like, I don't start the show wet. Anyways, it was another interesting observation is no one, dude, not a merch buying city. I sell signed tour posters after all the shows, and like, dude, no one bought merch. And typically I'll sell, let's say it's a one show, I'll typically sell at least 5 to 7 to 8 posters, depending on what it is. You know, dude, like Friday early, I think I sold 1 poster. Friday late, I think I sold 2 posters. Saturday late, I sold 1. And then Saturday early, I sold like 15 posters. And don't know why. Couldn't tell you. It was dude, it was like, it was, I think it's people need to, once people see other people buying posters, then they are like, oh, it's like what's the word? It's like a response to, like, humans are basically like, dude, what's the fucking word I'm trying to find? It's like we see someone doing something and then we do it. I don't know what that's called. You know what? I'm sure some of you are screaming into your AirPods right now, but it's like once people see that they're buying posters, they're like, oh, I want a poster. Once people start seeing you take pictures of people, they're like, oh, we can do that. Or I put people's names on the posters, and then once they see that, they're like, oh, cool, he can do that too. It's like they have to. I almost need like a dummy fake fan to buy a poster first so people know that they can do it. But it was so funny that just this, it was like all my fans came to one show. It was bizarre. So that's interesting. I hope. It's so funny meeting all sorts of different types of people though, like you in the meet and greet, just all sorts of different human beings. Some people are amazingly nice. Some people are strange. Some people are awkward. Some people are too much. It's just funny, man. Met a couple podcast listeners, which is just like means so much to me, man. When I meet you guys in person, because there's not a lot of us, right? I wish there were more, but there's not, and I'm okay with that. You know, whatever. We're a group of 200, 300, 400 people, and you guys are the best. And when I meet one of you, it feels like it's really special when I meet one of you after shows, because it feels like you guys know the real me. You guys are a real fan of me, and you care. And I'm a serial podcast listener. I listen to podcasts constantly, and you develop these relationships with people, and you feel like you know them, and you're almost like friends with them. And so, to think of people viewing me in that way, it's really special to me. It really is. I've had people ask about Oso after shows, and it's just, I don't know, man. That shit will never be lost on me. The podcast listener people, I appreciate so much. So if you come to shows, and when you come to shows, please always tell me if you're one of these people, because I really like to know. Another thing, couple things before I go. It's funny when, like, I treat comedy club staffs very well. I always try to tip mostly everybody in the staff. I always introduce myself at the beginning of the weekend to say, hey, I'm Will. Thank you in advance for all the work you're going to be doing. Excited. And the more I'm doing this, the more I'm realizing that like no one does either of those things. Like even just tipping the staff, they're people are always like, whoa. They're like, I can't believe it. Managers are like, wow, no one ever does that. And I'm like, why? No one even introduces themselves. Like at this club specifically, I had one of the bartenders be like, that would really stood out to us that you like said hi to us at the beginning of the weekend. And no one does stuff like that. No one really talks to us. And to me, I'm like, dude, but I need you guys for this whole thing. We are in this together. We are a unit. And some staffs I've found to be not that nice, not that friendly. Some I've seen to be unbelievably friendly. But either way, it's like, dude, they're helping you. They're supporting you. They're taking care of your fans. So I will always go out of my way to be nice to them and tip them. And it really goes a long way because I'm in the minority. And I'm building like a really good reputation for myself by being like a normal person. Does that make sense? Like, to me, this stuff, I'm not doing this stuff to build a good reputation. I'm just doing this stuff because that's who I am and that's how I was raised. But I'm an outlier. And I like that. So I will continue to go out of my way to be extra cool to these people because they deserve it. Last thoughts. Like I said, we ate every meal in the diner, and we had the last night there. I smoked weed because my job was done. I don't drink really anymore, so I blazed it up, and that's when we were watching the diving. Clearly, the weed was helping the diving enjoyment. But we were in this diner. I was laughing, doing bits, just having a silly fun time, and our waitress had zero sense of humor. Like, didn't understand jokes. Like, for example, what happened is I ordered this sandwich. It was called, I had to write it down to remember. It was called the fried triple pickled chicken. Fried pickled triple chicken. And I was laughing about ordering it, and I was looking around at the rest of the menu, and there was another thing called the Wawa Haka Waka omelet, and I was doing bits like, dude, everything on this menu is so hard to pronounce. Give me the pickle chickle frickin' fried pickle chicken and the Wawa Haka Baka Baka Laka omelet. Doing bits, and Anthony's laughing, but also kind of like, don't do too many bits in front of the waitress because she's gonna get weird. And sure enough, she was like, all right, let me read off your order. You got one chicken sandwich, one omelet. And I was like, whoa. What do you mean? I didn't order an omelet. She's like, yeah, you got the Wawa Haka Nana omelet. And I was like, I was joking, man. Sorry, I was joking. Just bombing at the diner. I mean, it was so like, like I was obviously doing a bit. I probably didn't explain it well enough, but trust me, it was like I was obviously doing a bit. It's like she stepped into Bitland and thought it was serious time. Like, she went into Candyland and she started playing Risk. That's what it was like. It's like, man, come on. I'm not a jerk. I'm obviously goofing around. It's okay. We can have a quick laugh. But to her credit, not to her credit, actually, she was not very friendly. It was also like 1 a.m. and she was like ending her shift. So all good. I respect the service industry people, but you can at least be like, here you go, have a good night, or whatever, just simple stuff. So I don't feel that bad. But if we're in a restaurant and I'm a little stoned and my job is done, I'm still doing bits. Okay? Whether there's synchronized diving on or not, still doing bits. Food is unreal, by the way. Food was like weirdly good. We got milkshakes after. Slamming milkshakes. I got my triple pickle chicken sandwich. Anthony got a patty melt, and I wrote down what he said. He said, and I quote, "The patty melt was one of the best feelings I've had in a long time." That's how good the food was. And that's how the shows went. Shout out to everyone who came. Everyone was very cool and very nice and treated me very well. They were respectful. No one was yelling shit out. The vibes were great. The shows were awesome. I can't wait to come back. Shout out to all the DC, Arlington folk. Y'all were so fun. And the staff. The Arlington Draft House is a fantastic place. Even though it's a movie theater, it still is really fun and great management, great staff. The vibes are great. And that's the podcast. Again, all my new tour dates are up. They are in the description. Chicago, don't wait on those tickets. That club doesn't seat a ton of people, so tickets are... Not a ton of them are left. And all the other cities, you already know, New York, Philly, Denver, Phoenix, all that stuff is in the description. Please subscribe. Please like it. Like the video. That helps with the algorithms. Leave a comment. It's all good, man. I love the comments. Just engage with it. That really helps me out a lot. And you guys are awesome for being podcast listeners. I appreciate you a lot. Have a good rest of the week. I'm off for 2 weeks before Chicago. I don't know what I'm going to talk about next podcast, but I always figure it out. I'll see you guys then.